The Watermelon Woman, a film directed by Cheryl Dunye, the first feature film to be released by a black lesbian back in 1996. It follows the story of Cheryl, played by Dunye, a black lesbian video store clerk who is on the quest to make a film project. And as she puts it,
the problem is I don't know what I want to make a film on. I know it has to be about black women because our stories have never been told.
So she becomes fascinated by the elusive Watermelon Woman, a black actress from the 30s whose real name was never credited and who often played mammy trope characters. And so she begins her journey of researching and documenting exactly who the Watermelon Woman was. At the same time this is happening, the audience gets to see glimpses into Cheryl's personal life, ranging from her outings to the local lesbian bar, to her budding romance and its intimate moments, to the ups and downs she faces with her best friend Tamara, another black lesbian, who also works at the video store with her. Now this film is a beautiful example of the relevance of auteur theory, and how the technical and personal stylistic influence a director holds can wholly influence the sustenance and impact of the film's inner meaning. So, what is auteur theory? Well, auteur theory is an idea that arose from French film critics back in the 50s after noticing how in American cinema, directors projected their own personal style onto their films in a unique way. In being the driving force responsible for the creation of a film, a director may influence its technique, style, and theme in a similar fashion to how an author writes a novel. To better understand auteur theory and how it can apply to Cheryl Dunye, it can be broken down using this diagram proposed by American film critic Andrew Sarris in his Notes on Auteur Theory. The outer circle represents technique, the technical competence of the director. It is the most basic, foundational standard of auteur theory. The middle circle is style, quote, the distinguishable personality of the director. Over multiple bodies of work, the director's signature style should begin to emerge, the movie's form mirroring the director's thoughts and emotions through time. Finally, the innermost circle represents the interior meaning, which is, quote, extrapolated from the tension between a director's personality and his material. Despite its ambiguity, this criterion is what defines the director as an auteur. It is the meaning embedded in the film, emerging from the previous two circles. So, to begin breaking down Dunye's auteur influence on the Watermelon Woman, the technical aspect of the film is a good place to start. The film presents itself in a very easygoing, casual fashion, with a mix of 90s behind-the-scenes camcorder footage, casual banter dialogue, and playful title transitions. Most scenes have minimal editing and instead rely on the camera's panning movements to relay the story, which only enhances the film's authentic, relatable, homemade form. Though the technical choices feel laid back, they're very clearly intentional and thought out in order to create a certain vibe and aesthetic. Moving on to the middle circle, it is these technical choices that allow for Dunye to integrate her personality into the style of the film. The style of the Watermelon Woman can be described as queer, black, romantic, intimate, playful, and retro. The most direct way Dunye's personality shines through in the film is through the character Cheryl, who is clearly a partial reflection of Dunye's real self. I mean, it's not a coincidence Cheryl is named after Cheryl. In Cheryl being the main character, she defines the rest of the world built around her in the film. From her iconic queer wardrobe to her friends to what she chooses to document, Cheryl is a lens through which Dunye can insert her thoughts, feelings, and interests. Whatever matters to Cheryl matters to Dunye. And even though Cheryl spends the entirety of the movie focused on the Watermelon Woman, at the end of the day, the film revolves around and is totally defined by Cheryl. Now to the innermost circle of Dunye's auteur influence. The style of the Watermelon Woman is the building blocks to what the audience can begin to interpret as the inner meaning of the film. And well, what exactly is it? Well, one little detail hasn't been mentioned yet, And that is that at the end of the movie, it is revealed that the Watermelon Woman was actually a fictional character made up by Dunye for the film. This completely shifts the audience's perspective and is the pinnacle of an auteur's hand at work. So the meaning of the Watermelon Woman? To tell the stories of queer Black women in their purest essence. Because their
our stories have never been told. So
the story the audience sees is of a Black lesbian trying to learn about and document the story of another Black lesbian. Yes, the Watermelon Woman, aka Faye Richards, also turns out to be a lesbian, all while documenting her current life that is immersed in Black lesbian culture, drawing parallels between her life and the one that she is discovering. And it all turns out to be fictional. Or is it really? What does the non-existence of the Watermelon Woman represent in this context? Is she a symbol for all the Black women whose stories have gone untold in the past 100 years? Was the choice to make her fictional a commentary on the ephemerality of human lives when they are left unquestioned, undocumented, and uncared for? Faye Richards is a glaring reminder of how easy it is to forget a person and how impossible it is to remember them again when no evidence of them was ever deemed important enough to be kept. Perhaps Cheryl Dunye, in creating the Watermelon Woman, wanted to turn the intangible, the forgotten, the frustratingly impossible to remember into something tangible. And so even though Faye Richards technically never really existed, the audience is left wondering and with a feeling that they'll never really know. Perhaps Faye did exist. I mean, someone just like her surely did. Cheryl Dunye rewrites history, only to leave the audience wondering how much was rewritten as opposed to how much is actually just lost.